Oh, god damn it. Hey, it fixed itself. Hello. Hello to the one person that's watching right now. Yes, it's been a bit of a delayed start, but I'm getting there. And now there's two people, so hello. Nobody has said hello in the chat, but let's just unpin that. Okay. All right. Roderick says, I have to watch This Is My Dial A request. Yes, indeed. So, I'll go over this again when more people arrive, but I'm going to have to do this in two parts. The first part will be looking at photos and showing, photos and everything about the car, and talking about my involvement, everything like that. And then if we get time, then the second part of the live stream will be I'll have to shut down my computer and reboot into Windows, because I've got a Mac, and yes, you can run Windows on Mac, but not the opposite way around, not without Hackintoshy stuff. Anyway, because on Windows, then I can run my CAD software, which I've still got access to. And I can show you the car modelled in 3D and the brakes which I worked on for the 2023 car. It's yet to be produced. Let me see, what am I going to do? I'm just going to go like this and this. Hello, Vanderbricks. Okay, let's get started. And the others can...
SWB audio capture,
later,
not registered.
Okay. First picture. This is the team. Not absolutely everyone, but everyone that was around at the time. And behind everyone is the trailer. You might think that's incredibly obvious, but our car was not road legal, so it had to be transported from our workshop in Bundoora to wherever we needed it to be. Usually the testing track at Puckapunyal or to Winton itself, which is where the actual race was. So we had this trailer which contained the car itself, of course, and also a sort of portable garage, if you like. Any tools, any equipment that we might need. So the trailer was a big task, packing and unpacking that trailer. The whole team pitched in every time for that. You can see everyone's around. And the Ford Ranger, that was the university car that they lent us. It's the university's trailer as well, I guess, but certain team members could drive the Ranger. Some key figures to point out. This guy over here, that's Nick. He was our team leader.
SWB audio capture,
here, Rory.
not registered.
He was the academic advisor for our team. So yeah. Hello, Albert. And yeah, this was just our pre-departure photo. Now we jump to Winton, where we see Sam, one of our drivers, and he was also head of chassis, I believe. He was also the chief mechanical for next year's car, although he's no longer the chief mech for reasons, not bad reasons. But yeah, shirts and hoodies that everyone's wearing, they certainly weren't compulsory, but you know, everyone I think in the team had at least one of the two, if not both, if not multiple of both. Personally, I got one t-shirt and one hoodie. You did have to pay for them, but they were at cost price, so they weren't too ridiculous, you know. So the reason why I was taking these photos was one of the first things first major things we did in Winton after sort of setting up in the garages, which were sort of over here. You can just see them over there. We had to get the car over to scrutineering. Now,
SWB audio
scrutineering's job
capture
is
not
to
registered.
check over the car and make sure that it complies with all the rules. And yeah, there's rules that are mostly focused around safety. So yeah, just we had to go there, and you don't get punished immediately if they find something wrong. If they do find something wrong, they'll tell you, and they'll say, okay, you need to come up with some way to rectify this. But you need to pass scrutineering in order to race. So, yeah. So we're on our way to scrutineering. Just in a bit of a queue, basically. And yeah, this is a nice side shot of the car. Oh, audio capture unregistered. Give me a moment and I will sort it out. That's funny. Wait, so... Oh, actually, if we can... I think I might have sorted it. Because computer audio... Yeah, okay. And then can we... Okay. All right, thanks for that, Albert. Yeah, let me know if it persists, but I think I've sorted it. Okay, keep going. That's Baraka, he's also one of our drivers, and Dermot, who is also another one of our drivers. Interestingly, this guy, Liam, he graduated last year, so he wasn't part of the team this year, but he did work on the design work for the car last year, and came to help out with the competition and everything. So yeah, any alumni are absolutely welcome to come. Yeah, RMIT Racing established 1999. You can see the engines back there with the exhaust coming out here. Just while I noticed it, this exhaust heat shield was a bit of a funny story. It was wrapped more closely to the exhaust, but then during testing on the dyno, the university has a small dyno that we can use. The exhaust got very hot, and the heat shielding is made of aluminium, and it melted. So the exhaust would have had to have gotten over 600 degrees for that to happen. And so yeah, we had to sort of fashion it so that it was a little bit further out. During normal operation, the exhaust shouldn't get that hot, but during tuning on the dyno, it did. While they were playing around with spark timing and all that sort of stuff, and fuel mixtures and whatnot. Baraka here also, he's the main guy who did the tuning. This was a New Zealand team. Is that, yeah, Waikato. Those guys actually were the winners in the end. They were a fairly small team, only about 12 compared to our team, which was probably about 30. And yeah, a lot less funding than us. We got a butt ton of money for funding. I think our budget for the whole year was about $250,000. So that includes everything from, buying all of the bits and pieces that we need for the car, but also, sometimes we would go do a team go-karting day, and the university would usually subsidise that through the team fund. So yeah, that was cool. We hosted the New Zealand team in our workshops, because obviously being from New Zealand and competing in Australia, they don't have a dedicated workspace, so we invited them to stay with us, which they were thankful for. And yeah, honestly, if any team deserved to win, it was them. So another thing I've just noticed, thank you, Rory. Remember, Rory was the academic advisor, and it was actually his last year with the team. After, I think, 7 years, he has been part of the team. So, how'd the New Zealand team get the car to Australia? Good question. They managed to fly it down because a boat would take too long, or getting it onto a container and onto a boat would take too long. So I believe they had to fly it down. Exactly how they managed to do that without damaging the car, because you couldn't just chuck it into the cargo hold of a normal plane. I mean, you could, but just not a commercially scheduled one. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure how the details of how they got it here, but they did. So yeah, Rory put a lot of effort into helping the team. So thank you, stick it there. And as a tribute, the car was also named after him. It's traditional to name the cars each year, give it some name. So the 21 car was named Sophie but the 22 car was named Rory. He didn't actually know until turning up to the event, that we'd named it after him. So funny that. Yeah, that's Nav as well. He is probably the guy who put the most effort out of any individual. He worked on the car like 12 hours a day, no joke. Yeah. And here I'm just taking photos of the other passing cars. So yes, this was the RMRT electric racing team going to scrutineering. There was two RMRT Formula SAE teams, the electric and the combustion. I was part of the combustion team, but yes, from next year, or this year now, isn't it? It's 2023, so from this year onwards, the teams were merging to just design a single electric racing car. So 2022 was the last of the combustion cars. So it was a nice tribute, nice send-off, nice last car. And the cool thing about it being the last year is that normally the cars get disassembled whenever the assembly of the next one is starting, because certain components like the engine gets reused. A lot of components are unique, like the chassis is obviously unique each year. All of the wings are all unique each year. Suspension is often unique, but not necessarily, so you pull parts off the car and the old car just gets disassembled and the remaining pieces get put into a storage container. But since this year there's no next combustion vehicle, R22C will stay as one piece, and long term nobody's quite sure what is going to happen to it, but in the sort of short to medium term, I've heard that it's going to get restored. Is that the right word? Because we had a few problems with it, which I'll go over later. But they'll fix it up and get it going, and I'm hoping that they'll do a team drive day sometime. So yeah, Griffith University, that's their car. I'm just taking lots of photos of ours and whatever other interesting ones go past. Whose is that? I got no idea. Oh, actually no. I don't know. Oh, I think UTS. Yeah, University of Technology, Sydney, I think. Oh, and this guy here, that's Sahel. He was the team leader for last year, although because of COVID, when I say last year, I mean 2021. He was the 2021 team lead, and he didn't get to have a competition because of COVID, so he came back to have a competition and be one of the drivers. yeah, so everyone had, each team had a small garage space. Now, apparently these are the same garages that they put V8 supercars in. They were fairly small as it was with our small cars. But yeah, I can imagine it will be quite a tight squeeze in there with a V8 supercar. Yeah, going head to head with, is that Ricardo? Yeah. Yeah, we did want a photo of the two teams because, yeah, we're friends. It was interesting, you know, some people were, some teams were very, you know, closed door, don't look at us, go away. But most teams, I would say, most people were, you know, it's too late to really make any major changes, you know. If you've got some bright idea of another team. So, you know, when you didn't really have much to do, then I certainly did this. We'd wander around to other teams, and if they weren't too busy as well, we'd just have a chat and go, oh, you know, hey, we're from RMIT, obviously. Can we check out your car? Looks cool, you know? See what other people have done. Yeah, cool hi-ace with making good use of its roof rack, putting up the loudspeakers. And yeah, so it was held, the whole competition was held over 5 days. So I think I'd have to, I think we got up there on a Thursday. Hang on. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, yeah. We got up there on a Thursday, and we camped overnight at the raceway. They had just, you know, a large open area. Yeah, with a toilet block nearby, toilets and showers, so that was good. And yeah, I was told that we weren't allowed fires, and I was a bit disappointed. And then we got there, and turns out fires are allowed, just only in the supplied oil drums. So I didn't bring my chainsaw, and it would have been helpful to bring a chainsaw. But, you know, it is what it is. Oh, I like that photo. That's in S. I haven't really edited any of these, but oh, that's nice as well. I've just been so freaking busy with everything. But yeah, real nice fire. We didn't get told off at any stage for making a fire that was too big, but a couple of other teams got a word from the security. However, as you can see, our barrel had slits cut into it, and it ended up dropping quite a bit of hot coals onto the grass. And yeah, some of these sticks were a bit too big for the drum as well, and would fall out occasionally, lighting the grass on fire. So we had to manage that. Apparently the electric team woke up one morning and turns out they'd had a massive grass fire and they didn't know it. But yeah. G'day Brian, I didn't see you arrive, but hello. Oh, brilliant finger in the shot. So these photos are of the first of the dynamic events. So the competition was judged based off a series of static and dynamic events, and yeah, the different events held different amounts of points, and then the points would be totaled up at the end to see who got the most points within each category. Brian says, I've got a bit of a history with fire, lol, and racetracks. Yes. Yes, indeed. Especially dry grass as well. Yes. So, yeah, the static events was like things like engineering design, business, where you had to sort of pitch your team as if it was a business opportunity, to say like, you know, we've built this racing car and we want to race it, and you know, there's lots of eyes on motorsport, and you know, this is why it's a good platform, advertisers, you know, that sort of thing. We had to try and make a commercial case for our team, a theoretical commercial case for our team. And so this was one of the dynamic events. This was the first, there was 4 dynamic events with a 5th sort of thing. So there was the first one, which was autocross, which is where there are these cones set up and you had to go left and right between the cones. Looks like blue was you had to keep that cone to the left of you, and orange meant you had to keep that cone to the right of you. I mean, all the events had cones of some description, but autocross was just like, you know, relatively low speed, tight corners, that sort of thing. So, just tests the performance of your vehicle in different situations. So autocross was one, and then sprint was another one, which acceleration, if you want to call it that. Testing, you know, how fast can we accelerate. What was the other one? Endurance was the last one, but I forget what the third one was. I'll remember it later. But we didn't actually manage to get our car started for autocross. Unfortunately, we had these reliability issues. And each time that we thought we'd solved it, then another thing would pop up. So, yeah. In terms of how many cars are allowed on the track, usually the one car would have to get about halfway around before they let another car on. And then if that second car caught up to the first car, then the first car would be shown a flag, which basically told them, you've got to let the other car pass. And that just keeps it all safe. So yeah, standard sort of autocross things. You've all sort of seen this, and now it's just sort of same thing but different. Oh, I noticed there was something different. Oh yeah. So, yeah, this was the pit lane. You're allowed to start your engines in your pit in your garage area, but once you were actually in the pit area, you were not allowed to have your engine running. The car had to be pushed by hand. That was just to keep everything safe. Oh, that was one of the more unique looking cars. The RMIT electric team didn't manage to get their car running for any events, unfortunately. And then there was also the Australian Defence Force Academy, who, they didn't have a car at all because apparently they'd started design on a combustion car, and then they were sort of told halfway through, actually, no, it's got to be electric. And they were like, well, we've done all this work for a combustion car, and electric really stuffs us up. And they're like, too bad. So, yeah. Interestingly, hey, look at this. They've got a Tesla sponsorship, this team, which I think it might be... something university. There was another team that was blue that had also got a Tesla sponsorship. As you can imagine, the RMIT combustion team did not get a Tesla sponsorship. There are only actually 5 combustion teams competing. The rest were electric out of 30 odd teams. So yeah, here's us trying to sort out get the issues, get the car running. It had a lot of trouble starting, and it was we think in the end a combination of using E85 fuel, which is hard to get going, and also we had a bad injector. We think we had some electrical ground faults as well at some stage, and probably some other issues that we don't know about. We had some gearbox issues as well. Getting it would refuse to get into gear. Albert says, I noticed on the SAE 2282 results for RMIT combustion team, there's no results for skid pad, acceleration and autocross. Was this due to the reliability issues? Yes, it was. And you've just reminded me what the third event was, which was skid pad. So yes, you're absolutely correct. We didn't manage to enter in 3 out of the 4 dynamic events because we couldn't get it started. I believe for at least some of them, if not all of them, we managed to actually make it to the start line or close enough, and then couldn't get the car started again. Yes. Rod asks, is the switch to electric for RMIT your team's choice or the new rules from the organising body? It's RMIT's choice. It wasn't... I think if you left it up to the students, they would say continue with combustion because people like combustion, but it was a university decision to combine resources into just one electric team, which ultimately does make sense, and you can you'll get the same engineering outcomes. Like, the reason why the university pours so much money into the club is because it produces great engineering outcomes from the students, and it's a great win for RMIT. Showcasing, hey, look, this is the sort of students that we can produce, and to be honest, the better engineers were with the combustion team. And I don't mean to just hate on electric, and they absolutely had some good engineers, but most of the good engineers were with the combustion team. And I think the reason for that was purely because the combustion team was based in Bundoora, which was where most of the better engineers are going to be, third and fourth year mostly, and third and fourth years of the degree are at Bundoora, so that's the reason. But I think that now that the two teams are combined, we can sort of use now both campuses to the best of the abilities. And don't have to fund two teams now, and you only have to fund one. That car came off the track. I believe it lost a wheel. Wow, blurry shots. I'm just flicking through these because same thing, different story. I took a lot of photos. Hey, hello. You can see, like, this is us. What's the time? It's the morning, so this would have been for the autocross event where we were rushing to try and get our car entered into autocross, but didn't. We successfully got it entered. We were like right on the cusp of being disqualified based on time, but we did manage to get it. You can see, like, the cutoff time was 11 a.m. and it's the time on this is like there's 10:58, and then it's right on 11, and we're just entering this area. So they said to us, like, because we were running at that stage, and then they said, okay, no, stop, don't run. Firstly, you shouldn't run with your car, because that can, if you run into people, then that's no good. But also, don't worry, you are entered, you don't need to rush. We'll keep it open for you. So it's like, okay. And then just following processes of, like, only 2 people allowed past a certain point. And then unfortunately didn't manage to get it started. Roderick says, is Winton just one circuit, or can it be partitioned into different lengths and styles? I've seen photos of cars on a banked section. As far as I could see, it was just the one track. Let me just, if I quickly look on satellite view. Okay, so there is actually, like, Oh yeah. Okay, now I can see. Yeah. Okay. Right. Just getting my bearings. Oh yeah. So that's that. So there is different sections of the track, but I actually don't know which parts are banked and which part are not. But there looks like there's sort of two sections to it. Brian, you got a copy of the book. Cool. So yeah, this was inside the garage. Same stuff. I think, yeah, that's the afternoon. So this is photos of the skid pan event, which was, sort of, you had a long run up, and then you had to sort of quickly turn. And you had to do like a few laps, I believe, and this was the test track that was set up in the sort of car park area. It was available upon request. It's nothing fancy. It's just an area sectioned off. But yeah, it was sort of that's right. They'd worked there was sort of a group of people who were dedicated to just working on the car, trying to get it running, and then they finally did get it running, but and then they wanted to sort of test it out here before they entered it into skid pan. But I believe they were still having issues with. They'd managed to get it started, but they're having issues with the gearbox, getting it into gear. It was was it sequential? I don't know. It's a standard KTM 690 engine gearbox transaxle unit thing. I don't really know the details of the box. All I know is that we sort of had our own paddle shifters with a pneumatic piston that would be in doing the job of what a foot pedal would on a motorbike for changing gears. And our pneumatic piston was working just fine, but for some reason that wasn't getting it into gear. Anyway, or we could get it into first gear, but then it wouldn't shift into second. Stuff like that. At this point, my family arrived as well. Oh, so this must have been for endurance. So this is a different day, is it? It must be. Yeah. So this isn't getting prepared for skid pan. Skid pad, yeah. Or acceleration or anything like that. Was trying to, yeah, get our car running for the the endurance race, that's right. Yeah, different cars competing for the endurance race. It was, yeah, sort of cones were set up on the track. And there were sections of long, straight parts, and then other parts which were much tighter. You can see a few cones have been knocked over. And yeah, this is us at the end of the day, trying to get our car entered, hoping that we can both get it started and, get it into gear. And yes, we managed to actually do it, which was quite the incredible feeling. And here's us racing. Because we were the very last ones, we didn't have to, we weren't slowed down by any other cars or anything like that. And normally you would get a time penalty if you raced out of order. However, your order was determined by where you came in autocross. And since we didn't compete in autocross, we didn't have an order that we had to be in. So we could have raced basically whenever we were ready. And it just so happened that we were the last ones for the day. Well, last ones for the whole event. And yeah, since the team was getting merged, 1999 to 2022. It was very fun. It was a very fun event. And I took over 2,600 photos of it all. Now, as part of endurance, there was also fuel efficiency. So that wasn't its own event, although you did get points. It was basically who uses the least amount of fuel for the endurance run, while also going the fastest, And so we managed to win both endurance and fuel efficiency. There we go, there's Rory celebrating and he's got his fancy socks on. However, as you'll see in a moment, the issues were not over because, you can see what actually happened was, here we go, that's a better look. We had a small crash. There was basically a very tight turn that had to be made right at the very end because as part of the endurance race, you had to swap drivers. And Sam, the driver, just couldn't make the turn and had a small crash into the wall and managed to knock off the wing. And there was actually when the wing, it sort of became detached, but it was still attached with some lock wire, and we had to get the wing off, but as part of the rules we weren't allowed to use any tools. Now at first Nav, who was the one fixing it, just tried sort of yanking it and then quickly found that that wasn't going to work, so he had to untwist the wire by hand, which was fine, it worked. But then when the car went off again to race, we thought everything was good, and then the on-site paramedic comes blazing over to us with his car, lights on and everything, and we're like, what? And then he sort of starts yelling at us, and he's like, right, who touched the wire? It's like, him. He's like, show me your hands. And he's like, He's like, are you hurt? Like, no. Okay, all good. I just wanted to make sure you weren't hurt, because someone said that you'd cut your hands with the wire, and it's like, okay, got no idea where you got that one from, but no, he's not hurt. But it was just a bit weird because, he at first, he was like, don't worry, you're not in trouble. I just want to make sure you're not hurt. It's like, okay. Bit of a weird tone to be checking if someone's all right, but anyway. And so there we go. I think that was, that's Nick, the second driver, so celebrating after we'd come back, and it was just incredible that we managed to get the car running. Roderick Smith says, to win fuel efficiency, you must have been competing against only the combustion vehicles. How were the electrics compared for that aspect? Good question. Their efficiency was measured, they would measure how much energy they used from the battery or accumulator over the course of their run. And so efficiency was based on using the least amount of energy. And this was actually, this photo here was from the fueling station at the end, where the way that they measured how much fuel you used was that your fuel got your fuel tank got filled to the brim before the race, and this fueling station was the only place you were allowed to refill. So before the race, we would fill up the tank completely with fuel, and then after the race it would also be filled up completely with fuel, but the can would be weighed before and after, so then you could tell how many kilograms of fuel was used, and that's how it was measured. I'm not exactly sure how the electric teams were measured, exactly how they measured how much energy was used, but Oh, and also of note is we had these wet tyres on because it had rained, although by the time we actually raced, the dry tyres would have been better. And Sam was quite emotional over doing such a good job after all of the heartache that we had getting it started and everything. And yeah, everyone was cheering us on at the end, so it was awesome. Some great photos of Rory. And yeah, that's the end of those photos. And a couple of comments from Brian. Says, judging by the way this train is vibrating, I think it has a flat tyre. And it's a new electric one. Are you on a train, are you? Well, yeah. Let's switch back to the main camera. So yeah, that's that. Yeah, it's 10:07, so we've pretty much hit the hour mark exactly. In fact, the live stream counter is looking at what is it? If I go actual live, yeah, 59 minutes. There we go. So we definitely won't be doing part 2 tonight, which was going to be looking at the CAD. So here's my proposal, is we do a bonus stream next Friday, so on the off week. I don't think it'll be an hour long. I think it'll probably only be half an hour or so. Just showcasing the CAD and the other sort of design work that I did, as opposed to the photos. And then we can shift back to the regular streams on the regular times in 2 weeks' time. And that will be the railway quiz stream. Brian's on a train in Adelaide. So it's the 4,000 class EMUs, which are the Bombardier velocity derivation, aren't they? Good, Albert has given the thumbs up for doing a bonus stream in 1 week's time. I think that's going to be the best, and that'll also give me time. Earlier, at the very beginning of the stream, I put up a message saying that I was going to try and set something up, and that was I was going to try and set it up so that I could just go from Windows directly and show you my photos from Windows and switch to CAD and stuff, but because my storage server is a Mac and I'm running it with Mac OS file systems and everything, different story for a different day, but couldn't do it basically. So, yep, cool. That's what I'll do. So, yeah, 1 week's time, Friday, I will, I'll say if I get time, I will put up an announcement and stuff if I'm not going to get time, but I think I will be able to. So, yes. And yeah, I think you'll enjoy looking at the 3D, because it really gives you an idea of what everything is like and where everything goes, and I'll talk a little bit about the actual design process of, you know, how it all fits together. So, cool. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Thanks to the, how many did we actually have in the end? Rod, Oscar, Albert, and Brian. So, by my count, only 4. Hang on. Rod, Oscar, Albert, Brian. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, hope you 4 enjoyed. And hopefully see you next week and the week after. Cheers. See ya.